Penn State choked. Texas choked. I don't know what's more surprising. Nah, but all jokes aside, the national championship finally down to 2. College football is coming to an end. Coaching Carousel is getting kind of crazy. It's kind of heating up. These coaching candidates, obviously, we've already seen a coach get hired. Welcome back to another RS Sports Talks. We got a lot to talk about, so let's get into this. Sports Talks. As always, if you do not want to watch this as a YouTube video and you do want to listen to us as a podcast, it is available on Spotify. Still working on Apple Music. I really hope by the next episode we'll have it out. And I am switching to having this out every Monday. Obviously, this episode specifically won't be released on a Monday, but I am switching to having this every single Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So, the time's going to switch with that. But it's episode 3. It's not like I changed it 20 episodes in, you know what I'm saying? So, college football is coming to an end, and there's a lot of NFL news to talk about, so we're going to be a little brief talking about the national championship. Notre Dame against Penn State was obviously a heater. 27-24 was the final score. We got to have a conversation about James Franklin. I feel like it's about that time. He can't win the big games, and you can't sit here and say, oh, well, he won big games to get to the Notre Dame game. Bro, he beat Boise State and SMU. He can't win the big games, and I think it's time to start maybe thinking about he might not be their guy. You know what I'm saying? I really don't think he's that good of a coach. The game was looking good for Penn State until Greathouse scored that 54-yard touchdown towards the end of the game. That kind of boosted the momentum in Notre Dame's favor, and Penn State just couldn't really recover in that way. One thing I did really think was good about Penn State, though, in that game is going to be the running backs. We got Katron Allen and Nick Singleton. I was trying to remember their names. The run game was great. They were honestly having their way with Notre Dame in that first half. I mean, I was at Texas Roadhouse actually during the first quarter, and I was just watching like little like swing route or sweep routes were just getting like 10 yards of carry. I was like, oh my goodness. So props to Notre Dame for game planning and adjusting in that half, and obviously ended up turning out and winning the game. Texas to Ohio State. Texas had the game, not even the game, but they had a chance to tie it in their lap. They literally got 2 pass interferences in a row on the 1 yard line, about to score, and they couldn't get that 1 yard because C. Spagnuolo decided, you know what, let's call a toss on 3rd and goal. So that was a choking job if I've ever seen one, honestly. They shut down Jeremiah Smith in that game, but it just proved that Ohio State has more than just him. That's a good roster overall. And Texas honestly didn't deserve to win that game, especially if they couldn't score in 4 plays. You know what I'm saying? So Ohio State Notre Dame is definitely going to be a good one. I'm kind of excited, or not kind of excited, very excited for it, only because I think Notre Dame has the defensive front to match up with Ohio State's offense. And so I think because of that, it's going to be a good game. What it is going to come down to is if Notre Dame can do anything on offense, basically. You know, Notre Dame obviously has one of the best defenses in the country, and they are very disciplined, well coached, but that offense is nowhere near as good as Ohio State's offense. So if they can't match up with them in that way, Ohio State could possibly run away with it. So I just think Notre Dame has to be careful in that sense. They don't want Ohio State to run away with it. But if it is a close game, I think Notre Dame has a good shot at winning it. Other than that, in college football, there isn't much. Quinn Ewers still hasn't declared for the draft, so we'll see. We'll keep an eye on that, obviously. A report came out right before the Texas-Ohio State game that he was going to declare, but that game was 4 days ago now, and he still hasn't. So there's a good chance he could transfer and end up going to possibly. I've seen rumors of Notre Dame. I've seen rumors of Oregon, Ohio State. Obviously, Miami isn't going to be an option now that Carson Beck is going there, which that was interesting, of course, as well. You know, he had declared for the draft and then just suddenly entered the transfer portal and had like a non-discussion, some type of weird agreement I've never even heard of. So Carson Beck was definitely getting a bag from Miami, but hey, props to him. Boost his draft stock, if anything, and it should work out for him. With Carson Beck returning, though, that is going to put a lot more quarterbacks. It's a situation where who are the top quarterback prospects this year other than Shedeur and Cam Ward? Obviously, we got the top two guys who are going to probably go 1 and 2 or 1 and 3, whatever. Shedeur and Cam Ward. But who do we have outside of that in this draft? Because so many guys are possibly staying. You know, we got Quinn Ewers who could stay. Carson Beck staying now. Jaxson Dart is probably QB3 at this point. He's trying to find a way to be eligible, I believe. So there's a chance Jaxson Dart won't even be in this draft. Dylan Gabriel, that's probably going to be maybe QB 4 or 5. We got Jalen Milroe. He's going to end up probably going high, I'd say, only because of his upside. But other than that, there's really not a lot of guys in this draft, so it's going to definitely be interesting what teams do. I really think there is a chance Jaxson Dart could end up making get some round 1 hype, because I'm already seeing reports that they think that teams are loving him and loving his play style and all this stuff. So I would not be surprised if he ends up going in the top 32, obviously, in the first round. To a team, you know, like the Seahawks, Steelers, I guess in that back half there wouldn't be many teams that would draft a quarterback. So I don't know. We'll have to look into that. Obviously, the draft season's still super new. We haven't even seen coaches getting hired yet. All right, here we go. So I kept the top 5 pretty simple. I feel like all the picks are pretty self-explanatory. We got Cam Ward going at 1, Shedeur going at 2. I for a while had Shedeur going somewhere else, not going to the Browns. But Deshaun Watson did re-hurt his Achilles, which is looking like he's just never going to play a snap for the team again. And the Browns are going to move on to try and turn their franchise around with a quarterback. Travis Hunter, best player available for the Giants. Hopefully you can get a quarterback in the second round, like a Jalen Milroe or Quinn Ewers if he does declare. Patriots, I went with Abdul Carter, which is probably interesting. They do need tackle, of course. But I think Abdul Carter played so well in that Penn State game. He was getting in the backfield every play that he's proved he's good enough to go top 5, and he deserves to go right here. And with Mike Vrabel coming in, a defensive-minded guy, he's going to definitely want, difference maker on that defense to missing out on Travis Hunter, of course. Jaguars will go Will Johnson, pairing up with Tyson Campbell. That secondary just needs to get better. We don't know who their head coach is going to be yet, but I imagine offense or defensive minded, they're going to want to get that defense better. Raiders at 6, I'm going to McMillan out of Arizona. I thought about going Genty here. He is good enough to go here, but I think you just go ahead and take best player on the board and get that receiving room better for whoever your quarterback's going to end up being. They could end up drafting someone in the second. Maybe they end up signing Sam Darnold. Maybe they trade for J.J. McCarthy. Maybe they sign Daniel Jones. Maybe they sign Kirk Cousins. Who knows? But I think this is a situation where you just go best player available. Same thing with the Jets. Missing out on a quarterback. You're just going to go take a defensive lineman, pair up with Quinn Williams. Panthers, you do miss out on a receiver. And you could go Luther Burden here, but I think you just go Mykel Williams. You could go Jalen Walker, which is why I have him going at the next pick to the Saints. Those are two teams that just need to get better on defense and need to get cheaper and younger. So go ahead and get a difference maker. Both players are super good. Obviously different styles, but both teams could use a player of that style. Will Campbell going to the Bears at 10. I've had this for quite a bit now. I like his guard flexibility because the Bears do need a left tackle, but they also could possibly need a right guard or even a center. So we got Kelvin Banks going at 11 to the 49ers. This is a little bit of a fall. I've had him going earlier in the past, but I think the 49ers definitely need to get a right tackle, but they also are going to end up needing a successor for Trent Williams. Cowboys going Ashton Genty at 12. Pretty self-explanatory. Their run game was pretty non-existent. We don't know who their head coach is going to be. Right now, it's looking like Deion Sanders. We'll get more into the coaching candidates in a little bit. I got Malachi Starks going to the Dolphins at 13. I've had this for a while, too. Same thing with Tyler Warren at 14. They're kind of self-explanatory. Malachi Starks is because Javon Holland's probably going to be leaving in free agency. Colts need to get a tight end, get Anthony Richardson, maybe a little safety blanket, because he does have good receivers, young receivers, of course. He has Josh Downs and Adonai Mitchell. But go ahead and get you Tyler Warren to kind of just get every quarterback needs that safety blanket. James Pierce to the Falcons at 15. This is crazy. He was actually People thought he was going to be the first pick at one point before the season. Falcons need to get better on defense. They need to get some edge rushers. I did want to go corner here, but I didn't think any corners were worth going at 15. So it's free to go best defensive player available. Cardinals, this was a little different. I decided to go Luther Burden. You can never have too many weapons for Kyler Murray, and you just definitely want to get the most out of him that you can in his prime years, which is probably what he's in about right now. You got Marvin Harrison, but outside of that, what do you really have? So go ahead and get another first-round receiver. I know it's back-to-back years, but who cares? Luther Burden's good enough for that. I've got Nick Scorton going to the Bengals at 17. I think Luther Burden would have been a little tempting here for them, but I think they are going to end up bringing T. Higgins back, so I don't imagine they go receiver. I got Tyler Booker going to the Seahawks at 18. I've had this for a while as well. It just makes a lot of sense. Seahawks need guard. They do need tackle as well, but guard is just a blaring need for them, and you need to protect Geno, who's, I believe, is going to be their quarterback next year. I mean, Mike Macdonald, his answer was so interesting. Someone asked, like, oh, is Geno going to be the starter next year? He's like, I don't see why not. Like, what are you talking about, dog? I got Colston Loveland going to the Broncos at 19. I've had receiver for the Broncos for quite a while, but I think, just with the way this board's falling, go ahead and get, same thing I said for Anthony Richardson, get Bo Nix kind of a safety blanket tight end. He has good receivers, young receivers, just like Anthony Richardson. I got Jahad Campbell going to the Bucks at 20. Vontae David's 35, I believe, going into this season, so just take the best player, or not the best player, but take the player you need. Yeah, he's not the best player on the board, but go ahead, just take the best player you need, plug him in. Vontae David probably won't retire this year necessarily, so you can go ahead and have him learn under David for a year and then hopefully take over the defense. This is the most interesting of the mock draft for sure. I got Jaxson Dart going to the Steelers at 21. I don't think Justin Fields is going to be coming back. I do think Russ will be coming back, so I can see a situation where they bring Russ maybe on like a 1 or 2 year deal and then go ahead and draft Jaxson Dart with the intention of starting him by next year. I think he is going to end up making a rise, not a Jaden Daniels rise like the report said. It's going to be more of a Will Levis rise where he's getting this first round hype and he'll go at the top of the second and bottom of the first type of thing. I got Josh Simmons going to the Rams. Just kind of plug him in at left or right tackle and protect Stafford. I don't think Stafford's quite done yet. Kenneth Grant going to the Chargers. You got to love the Michigan connection, obviously, and he's obviously good enough to go here. The Chargers need help on that interior of the defensive line. I got Siobhan Revel going to the Packers. I don't know if Jair Alexander is going to be back next year, so kind of just plug him in at corner. They're kind of lacking in that secondary outside of the safeties. They're lacking in the corner room, of course. I got Walter Nolan going to the Texans. This could be interior O-line, but I think Walter Nolan on the board there is really good value. I got Emeka Egbuka going to the Commanders. You just need a little bit more help outside of Terry McLaurin. Get some help for Jaden Daniels. That roster really, it's crazy that team went 12-5. That roster is really not that good of a roster. I got Jonah oh my God, I struggle with his name so bad. Jonah Savaiania. I was going to say y'all can see, but I forgot this is a podcast and some people aren't watching. The interior line out of Arizona. He does have right tackle flexibility, I believe, and he could go in and play right tackle day one if you wanted him to. You just need to protect Lamar. I got Benjamin Morrison out of Notre Dame going to the Vikings. I don't know if Brian Flores will be back as the DC next year, but you're obviously hoping he is, and who better to get a corner like Benjamin Morrison than him. But if he's not there still, they need help at corner, so go ahead and plug him in right in there. Deion Walker to the Bills. I did this in the last mock draft we did. I just like his flexibility that he can play D tackle or edge. And then we got this part of round 2 I did. Y'all can ignore that. Actually, we'll just go up a little bit. I got Cameron Williams going to the Eagles at 30. Lane Johnson is getting a little older, so go ahead and just draft someone that you know is going to be a project that you're not going to start right away to learn under. I can't remember the Eagles offensive lines coach, but he's one of the best in the league. So who better to develop a tackle than him? We got Derek Harmon from Oregon going to the Chiefs. Pair him up next to Chris. Why am I blanking on his name? Oh my God. Why do I want to call him Chris Johnson? This is a huge blank. Chris Jones. There we go. Good Lord. I wanted to call him Chris Johnson. I was having a moment. Pair him up next to him. Get that defense a little better. Obviously, a really good defense. And then we got Jack Sawyer going to the Lions at 32. This is another one that I've done in the past, I believe. I just like the idea of pairing him next to Aiden Hutchinson. I think he just fits that Lions defensive scheme. So, yeah, that's gonna do it for that mock draft. There was a couple things I wanted to talk about regarding like free agency quarterbacks. Obviously, I kind of chimed in talking about the draft, how there's not that many quarterbacks in the draft now. So I think that's going to put a lot more backup caliber quarterbacks that are going to start this year. Daniel Jones, I think, will end up getting a starting job somewhere, probably like New Orleans, maybe Vegas, maybe even the Jets. Wouldn't be surprised about that. I think Jameis Winston could end up getting a starting job somewhere. I like Jameis Winston maybe going to the Colts, kind of being as a competitor to Anthony Richardson, make him play a little better. Kirk Cousins is probably going to go somewhere. I don't know. That's an interesting one as well. Maybe Tennessee to mentor Cam Ward or Shador, whoever they get. Justin Fields is going to be the biggest one probably. I really think he'll end up going to the Jets, but if he doesn't, he could go to the Raiders. Just depend. It's going to come down to coaching, I think. Derek Carr is going to end up getting moved, I believe. I think his $40 million cap hit that's a no-no for the Saints. And the Saints, that's a team that just they should have been doing a deep rebuild a long time ago. I mean, they were trying so hard to stay good after Drew Brees retired, and it just didn't work. It just didn't work, and now they're where they are, and they're gonna have to go into a deep rebuild. They're gonna have to go into like a tank type of thing. So that's another thing we can talk about is the coaching openings that there are. So obviously, one coaching opening has already been filled. We got Mike Vrabel signing with the Patriots or getting hired by the Patriots, whatever. That was, I mean, everyone knew that was going to happen. I don't even think he interviewed with any other teams other than the Patriots. I saw a report that he told people he wanted to go to the Jets just to put some pressure on the Patriots to fire Gerard Mayo so that he could go to the Patriots. He wanted the Patriots job last year. I have this theory. What if he requested to leave Tennessee? What if he requested for them to fire him, to let go of him, so he could go to New England? That's just. I don't think that's true, but like, wouldn't that be crazy? So I do have predictions for every other team, and I'm pretty confident about these predictions. I think the Raiders are going to end up hiring Ben Johnson. I'm pretty confident about that because I think they had said the GM was fine, Tom Telesco, and then suddenly fire him. I think they are trying to put some leverage because Ben Johnson wants to bring his own guys. I really think Ben Johnson is going to be a Raider because Tom Brady wants to bring in a high-profile head coach. He wanted Belichick. He wanted Vrabel. He ended up settling for Ben Johnson, who's one of the most highly coveted coaches in the league right now. I think the Bears, I've been confident on this for a while, Cliff Kingsbury. I like the Caleb Williams connection there. I think it makes a lot of sense. Saints, I've been torn on this one. I'm going with Brian Flores. But I think John Gruden makes a lot of sense. Hear me out on that one. John Gruden makes a lot of sense because he's close friends with the Saints owner, and he worked for the Saints personnel last season. And Joe Brady makes a lot of sense because he has ties in New Orleans. He coached with Sean Payton, I believe, at one point. So that one would make a lot of sense as well. But I'm going with Brian Flores. I think Brian Flores is going to be. But I'm going to say that the Jaguars and the Saints can be switched because I have the Jaguars hiring Joe Brady. But I would not be surprised if the Jaguars brought in Brian Flores and the Saints brought in Joe Brady. I almost want to go with that now. It almost sounds better as I say it. You know what? Switch it up. Let's switch it up. I'm going to actually go with that. I think Saints, I just convinced myself. The Saints are going to hire Joe Brady. I like the ties. The former, alumni, and then the Jaguars are going to bring Brian Flores, kind of bringing a culture changer. I think the Jets are going to get Aaron Glenn. They're finally going to have something good happen for them. And then the Cowboys, unfortunately, I'm a Cowboys fan, as you all know. I think we are going to be hiring Deion Sanders. I think that has picked up a lot of steam since right after McCarthy. And that's someone too that's gonna probably be getting looks. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears or the Saints ended up hiring him, or even the Jets. Those are three teams that could definitely get McCarthy. So I didn't mean to just like jump right back into that, but McCarthy is a free agent now. He didn't get fired by the Cowboys. It's not like he's, this would be his third team after being fired twice. But he has ties with the Saints. He has expressed interest in the Bears, and the Jets would be interesting because of Aaron Rodgers and Devontae being there. That would be really interesting. So keep a lookout for that. But with the Cowboys, as I was saying, they're letting go of McCarthy. I knew right away. I don't think we're going to end up bringing one of these normal, Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn. It's not going to be one of those. It's going to be a Jason Witten. It's going to be a Deion. It's going to be someone outrageous. And don't get me wrong, I don't think Deion Sanders is a bad coach. I think more what it is with him is he brings a lot of unwanted attention and an unwanted drama that we don't need. There's going to be rumors of, we're going to trade Dak and draft Shador, stuff like that. And I just want to win a Super Bowl, man. I'm so over this freaking. Oh my God, the Cowboys are so good. This is our year, like the meme. I think that it would be interesting. I don't know if I would hate it. It would be an interesting move, for sure. And we'll end up seeing in the next probably week or so. And I'm not gonna be posting another episode this week, obviously. Well, okay, I guess that's stupid because I'm not posting Fridays anymore. So this is gonna end up getting posted on Wednesday, I believe, because I'm recording this Tuesday night. But the next episode will be out Monday, and then it will consistently be out on Mondays. That's the plan, at least. As I've said in every video, every episode so far, I'm trying to lock in and do that. So that's really it about NFL. About NFL coaching. There's still a lot to talk about in the NFL. The wild card games, we had some heaters this week, man. We'll go through one by one. Houston, LA it was a good game. I didn't watch it, but I watched the highlights. It was a good game until Houston started running away with it. And once LA got behind, it was kind of over from there. Once it was like 13-6 about there, Houston had control. Baltimore Pitt. But I'm just like not gonna say anything else about that. I knew that Herbert was gonna end up being a liability in that game. He threw 4 picks, but I also think Herbert doesn't have as much help as people think. He has Ladd McConkey, and that's about it. They need to get him probably a better running back, I'd say. J.K. Dobbins is good, don't get me wrong, but I think they need to get a better running back for him. They're going to end up needing to get him a tight end. They need to get him another receiver. There's a lot. That Chargers team should be proud of where they came because, it was a terrible 5-12 team last year, and then they went 11-6 this year. They should definitely be proud of where they got, but Houston just kind of had the, experience outside of them, the playoff experience there. So I'm not surprised Houston won that. And I think Houston can make some noise in the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised. C.J. Stroud is him. Pittsburgh. Baltimore was up 28-0, I believe, at one point. And Pittsburgh ended up kind of showing some life. Steelers need a lot. They need another receiver. They need a new quarterback. Russell Wilson's not the answer. He's not the classic Russell Wilson. This is a 36-year-old quarterback now. Or something like that, 35. So I don't know what Pittsburgh's. I've been even seeing rumors about Mike Tomlin, so I don't know what their goals are going to be this offseason. I might end up doing a separate video of fixing every team, what they need to do, or might be doing like reels of fixing each team and what. So we'll look into that. That would end up being something interesting to do. But I don't know what Pittsburgh's going to do. But Baltimore is looking very, very, very dominant, and I've been saying I think Baltimore has a good shot at winning it all this year. This is their Super Bowl to lose, man. It really is. I think that's a really good all-around team. If they can keep it together. Buffalo, Denver. I was excited for a second, man. Denver scored early on. I was like, oh my God, is Denver going to do this? 31 unanswered. Buffalo, same thing as Baltimore. They're looking very, very dominant. I'm really excited to see them play each other this week. We have some heater divisional games. We'll get into that in a little bit. Green Bay, Philly. I knew Green Bay didn't really stand a chance because Jordan Love re-aggravated his knee or his elbow. I can't even remember. I know he was hurt, though, and that's going to definitely always play a factor. And Philly was just honestly a better team in that situation. That's a really injured Green Bay team. But people are already saying, oh, is Jordan Love the answer? Bro, Jordan Love is the answer, trust me. Let's not forget what he did all season just because of one bad game. Washington, Tampa, that was another heater. Jaden Daniels. I mean, I'm happy for Dan Quinn, man. As a Cowboys fan, I'm happy for Dan Quinn. I was rooting for the Bucs in that game, living in Florida. I always root for the Florida teams, but good for Dan Quinn. That they deserved that game, and it ended up setting up some really good divisional matchups. I almost forgot the Vikings-Rams game. I knew the Vikings were favored, and they were a little too confident going into that game. And I knew that the Rams were upset because they were being overlooked. I even said to my coworker who's a Vikings fan, I said, look, Sean McVay is pissed off and he's motivated. I would be nervous if I were you. And then look what happened. So the games we got Philly hosting Philly hosting LA. That's going to be an upset. No, I'm playing. I don't know for sure. I'm really torn on this one. This is the most torn I am out of all of them. You know, I think there's a good chance LA will win, but I'm gonna pick Philly just because Saquon's been playing so well, and I think Saquon's so hungry to win his first Super Bowl. So I'm gonna pick the Eagles to win that. I think the Lions are gonna beat the Commanders, but I think that's gonna end up being a really good game as well. I'm picking Kansas City to beat the Texans. That's another one, just like the Rams game. I said I would not be surprised if Houston upset them, and it would be insane because Kansas City's 15-2. They've been so dominant all year, and then Houston just comes in and upset them. That would be insane. But I think Kansas City pulls away, and then I think Baltimore is going to pull away in the Buffalo game, but it's not going to be as dominant as earlier in the season. It's going to be a way closer game because it's in Buffalo, but it's going to come down to be Baltimore, Kansas City, and Philly, Detroit conference championship game. I'm just going to dive in a little bit. There's obviously in the NBA a lot to talk about. I'm not going to talk too much about too much right now. But obviously Jimmy Butler Jimmy Butler's requested a trade. There's three destinations that I think are realistic for him. Suns, Lakers, and Kings. The Suns, Kevin Durant wants him there. Kevin Durant has came out and said he wants him to play for them. Lakers, they need to make a splash. They need to find someone to kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Bring some more life to that offense. I feel like their offense has been kind of dormant. And the problem with the Lakers isn't coaching. It's more just the players. So I think if the price is right, I could see the Lakers definitely bringing them in. And then the Kings, I think, are just struggling and they need a splash. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Kings ended up making that. The Cavs and Thunder are first in the East. Obviously, it's looking like they're kind of running away with it. I think the Cavs have like a 6-game lead and the Thunder have like a 4 or 5. But that comes down to a race for the number 2 seed. Rockets currently have the number 2 seed, but the Grizzlies and Nuggets are at 3 and 4. So they could definitely end up getting it. The Rockets are looking very good. Jalen Green, I think he dropped 42 in the last game he played. Jalen Green's looking very good. The only problem with the Rockets I don't like, as a Rockets fan, wearing this Ace-Town hoodie, Jabari Smith hasn't been as good, I feel like, as he should be. But I truly think that the Rockets got a good shot at number 2. But John Morant has been playing well as well. And Jokic, can't ever count out Jokic. And then same thing in the East, race for the second seed. The Celtics, the Knicks, the Magic. I think the Knicks are heating up the most. We got Cats averaging like 15 boards a game. Jalen Brunson's been playing really well, and they've been very lucky regarding injuries. So if the Knicks can stay healthy, I would not be surprised if they get the second seed. And maybe even as the season turns up, they end up moving in to get the first seed. The Knicks have been my early non-biased, the Knicks have been my early pick for the East, out of the East. You know, a Knicks-Rockets would be the dream scenario, but I truly do think the Knicks have a good shot at making out the West or out the East. Rockets probably won't just because of the inexperience. I wouldn't be surprised if the Thunder end up making it, or even the Nuggets again. Oh, it's obviously going to be interesting. It's only January. We're not even at an All-Star break, and as the NBA season comes to a close and heats up, I'll obviously report more on that because there won't be NFL to report on. So get excited for that. The next episode will be out next Monday, of course, at 7 p.m., as I said. Once again, if you want to listen to this on Spotify, and the link, or click the link down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did enjoy, if you did sit through the whole thing and watch, I do appreciate you. Do not forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Spotify, follow me on Twitter, all that, all in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been RS Sports Talks, and I will see you in the next one.